Welcome back to the Music Industry Podcast. Today we have a very special podcast. We've decided that for this particular podcast, we've obviously had lots of incredible people on the show before, from Universal Music, Sony Music, help me out, Warner Music, Virgin, and so many experts in their field, as well as us working with artists on a daily basis. And we wanted to spend one special episode to cover everything that is needed to break an artist from scratch. And we thought we'd go through every single one, and hopefully in the, the timestamps at the bottom, you're going to be able to skip to specific points, or you can just watch this episode just as we run it. So I thought we'd start with branding and social media content for an artist. So you're starting from scratch with an artist. You're a label, you're a manager, you're an independent artist. Where would you start with kind of figuring out an artist's brand?
I think artists kind of overthink it quite a bit, where branding in basic form is like who you are as an artist. So you've got everything from your message and your values to your fashion to the way you talk. And I think often artists really overthink that part, especially when you're just starting. They'll spend like 2 months thinking about an artist name.
Yeah.
And it's like the best artists out there, if you think about their artist name, it's stupid. It's so like Arctic Monkeys.
Exactly.
If you think about it, detach it from the artist, it's a bit of a stupid name.
Especially with 0 followers, you can change your name.
Yeah.
If you have to.
But
if you've got 100 followers, you can change your name, making a quick announcement, or just keep it.
Yeah, because as soon as you're an established artist, it doesn't really matter. People will know your name and associate it with you.
I think what is key is the fact that people often worry about, or artists often worry about what content they're going to be putting up, but they've got 0 followers to 100 followers. And it really doesn't matter. That is the experimental stage of you as an artist and understanding your content, not necessarily putting out the content for people to see, but to understand what you can put out as an artist.
Yeah, and I also think, like you said, no one's there to view it. So it's your perfect time to sort of experiment and put stuff out there. I think a lot of artists are trying to follow the really established artists. So you're seeing certain trends. And a perfect example of that is a couple of years ago with Lewis Capaldi. Everyone suddenly thought, I've got to be funny. And it's like, if you're not funny, don't try.
Our audience go mental. You've mentioned Lewis Capaldi in less than 2 minutes into the podcast.
Take a shot every time I say it.
We've already mentioned Lewis Capaldi. So if you're new to this channel, he is the example we use whenever we talk about an artist being funny. I've found that artists, when they first start, I think that anxiety is actually what other people think that is in their immediate circle. So I'm talking friends, family, work colleagues. And my biggest tip is to not tell them that you've got an artist account. Wait till it grows and grow it organically. And often artists say, well, where do my first few hundred followers come from? And are people going to follow me if I have 0 followers? And I do totally understand that concern. However, you kind of have to trust the process in the sense that you're always going to be struggling. So should we go on to how you get your first 100 followers and the expectation?
Yeah, I mean, should we start with Instagram? Because I think that's the main platform for artists that want to sort of show their brand.
By followers, I mean Instagram as well.
Yeah. But I mean, we can move on to TikTok and YouTube at a later point. But I think Instagram's the one that is really, it's strong for representing your brand because it's all visual and you can sort of show personality through stories and stuff. I think it is a lot harder to grow a following on Instagram now, but it's definitely doable. So should we start with the basics of, like, you've literally just made your Instagram account. Where do you start?
I would say Reels, for an artist.
Definitely now,
Yeah. So firstly, Instagram are pushing out Reels hard and giving it that organic reach. And secondly, your feed is very much now just polished pictures. They've taken away that feature where the videos will get pushed out to the explore page now, and they've saved that for the Reels content. So now if you watched our content maybe 2 years ago, we would be saying put out videos and covers on your feed and putting a big banner of text, etc. I'd say those days are gone now. And we would be saying get on Reels, and then you can start doing content such as performing your track, doing covers. One thing I really like is performing your track but creating a story around it. That's something we do probably on a weekly basis for artists we're working with, is highlighting the story that is around the track and taking a one-line title and getting people emotionally involved in that. And that is going to organically get pushed out if you nail it.
I also think Instagram is still a platform where people aren't always turning the sound on, even with Reels, because they're coming up on your main feed. So use the captions, use text which is going to engage people to turn the sound on. Do basically anything you can to get people to turn the sound on if it's promoting your track. But I definitely agree. I think Reels is one which is the main way that it's going to get you discovered on Instagram. But once you've got people pulled to your profile, you need to have it populated with content. So feed content, highlights, you've got your bio up to date, you've got your display picture, everything there is sort of already there, because there's no point creating 20 reels but there's actually nothing on your profile.
Yeah, oh, totally agree. And the profile for me, should we say, is so the reels is for the new people and also your existing audience. The feed is existing audience, and then we've got stories, which is basically for your existing audience, just to kind of remind them you are human, you have a life, there's things going on, but don't be too precious about the stories.
Yeah, like it's 24 hours. It's up for 24 hours. Just get it out there. And I still do believe that it hasn't changed in a way of, if you're uploading consistently, Instagram's going to push you out. They're going to put you to the front of everyone's stories. If you're getting replies, if you're engaging with people on comments, you're going to be up there. And I think people overthink that as well. Just upload, just get stuff out there, keep it real, and that will represent your brand as well perfectly. One
amazing idea I've got, which I've never put into content or a video, is how you structure your stories in order to get the most views. So firstly, before I go into that, I feel like getting engagement from people and getting them to DM you is key. And the reason is because if you have DM'd an account, you are going to be at the top of their feed for stories. And I think that is an amazing thing. So you can put a poll up, you can ask questions, you can ask opinions on things. And those people who respond to that story go into your DM requests, you accept it and you reply to them, and you create as big a conversation with them as you possibly can. If you've got thousands of people like that, you are going to have thousands of views on every single story because you are going to go to the start. The main thing I wanted to say as well is how you structure your stories. So say you know what your day is going to include, and you know that there's going to be a highlight of that day where a lot of people are going to engage with it. Say you're gonna announce something incredible. So you're gonna go against the backlash of everybody, and you're going to say an opinion which everyone is going to hate, for sake of example. You want to have that in kind of the first 2/3 of that story. So you can have a plug for your music as kind of, say, in the first, I'd say the second or the third. So you have something generic like what you're having for breakfast, and then you can get away with the plug for your music, and then you can go on and put something else up and then have that engaging one somewhere in the middle. And what happens there is that Instagram says, my God, the story that is live is getting so much engagement. I'm going to have to push this out to everyone. And you go to the start of that list. I'm talking about the top of Instagram stories. You go to the top of that list, and then they see the plug for your music. You've got a free plug because it's the first one. You know, everyone's Instagram stories has drop-offs all the way down to the bottom. That just happens for everyone. And then you're going to get all of the views on that plug. And then people are going to get to the meaty bit. And they get to the meaty bit, and then you get all of that engagement, and then you've bought yourself more time and more attention to then go about your day and express your personality. So if you do know what your day is going to consist of and the stories that are going to go up, try to get the most engaging thing in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what? One other thing I think is not being used enough on Instagram is because obviously DMs I think are key for, like you said, getting your content pushed out to more people. But voice notes, the idea of like leaving someone a voice note, I think scares a lot of people because it feels quite intense. But that's the whole point, because it's so personal. One, they're definitely going to open it, and two, they're definitely going to reply because it's so personal and you've taken the time to send that. So I think that's one thing on Instagram that people aren't taking advantage of either. But Instagram, cool. I think we should move on to TikTok next.
Yeah, I feel like we've said enough on that Instagram strategy to be able to get an artist up to 10,000 followers. If you just keep following that, you don't need to change it. You don't need to be doing fancy things. And that is enough to get up to 10,000 followers. TikTok, I feel like you're more of an expert on TikTok than I am. So I'm going to let you kick off.
Sure. TikTok is a bit like Instagram in a way of people overthink it. You never know what video is going to go viral.
Yeah.
We've written so many TikTok strategies, and some of the ideas that we think are fire don't take off as much as the ones that we just came up with in 5 seconds. We've grown an artist account from 0 to 250K, and I think it was like 6 months. And that was purely based on music-focused content.
Yeah.
So TikTok isn't just dance routines. It isn't just skits. You can blow up from music alone. Just like Instagram, get your bio, get your picture, link it to your Instagram, then get creating content. I think what's key is knowing the overall theme that you want to have on your account, because it can't be like Instagram stories where 1 minute you're talking about your food, the next minute you're talking about your music. It has to be a consistent theme for TikTok to work out the audience that it should push it out to. So TikTok's a bit similar to Spotify, I think, where it's like it pushes out your content, tests the reaction. If it works, it'll push it out to more. If it doesn't, it will stop pushing it out. So for artists, that's like so ideal for discovery.
I think it's very important for an artist to know how the TikTok algorithm works.
Yeah.
And decides whether to push it out. And it is very, very similar to YouTube.
Yeah.
It is all about watch time. And you have to think about what the algorithm wants, because once you know the foundation, you're able to then create content that me and Maddie wouldn't even be able to come up with because it's specific to you. But knowing that you need to get people's attention in the first 3 seconds, you need something that is going to keep them watching, which is essentially, if you're just performing your track, that's going to be the quality of the track. And then you need something that is going to make people engage with you. So not only is it watch time, you've got to get people to the end. There are bonuses it looks for. So if you go to the profile and you look at other videos, or you watch other videos, if you follow the account, or if you hit the like button, that is all going to boost it and say that this is a positive video and it is worth pushing out. So literally write all of those things down, and when you are creating content, think, does it tick all of those boxes?
I think watch time is the most key.
Yeah.
And a few little hacks for increasing watch time is keep the video short to begin with, because no one knows who you are, so they're not going to recognize your face to like stop and watch it. So keep the video shorter, so then you've got a higher chance of having a high percentage watch time. Another thing is having a lot of text. We saw this trending, I'd say, a couple of weeks ago, and it's a short video, so I'm saying like 10 seconds, and have so much text on the screen that people read it and then the video loops. And this could literally be, the text can be what inspired you to write the song. It can be absolutely anything. And if people have to read it and the video loops, TikTok see that as this is a high quality video because people are watching it on repeat. Another thing is having different parts. So say you're doing a video talking about how you have started your music career and it's a part 1. If it's engaging enough, people are going to go to your profile, look for part 2. And that shows TikTok that you have some good content. So those are a few tiny hacks that you can look at doing. But I think watch time is the most key.
How do you find balancing the content with an artist? So you've got things like the big text, but obviously that's not going to be you performing your track, or am I wrong?
No.
So, is that for your existing audience there, or is that to get a new audience as well?
Bit of both. Because you can have something that you know is going to take off and reach a new audience. But then if it's something like, say the text is talking about what your song's about, that's going to engage your existing audience as well because they learn more about you. I think with TikTok, because there's so much that's a bit of luck, so much which is based on the first couple of hours of when you upload that TikTok, how it does, you need to be putting out tons. So it can be a mixture of completely unique content that's promoting your music, content that's trending at the moment and you're just jumping on that trend. Do a bit of both because you have no idea which one's going to take off. And that one video that you thought might have been a little bit average compared to your others could be the one that really takes off, because I think the ones that look like they have zero effort behind them are the ones that do best. I mean, we worked with an artist where we were at Full Strategy, and the video that ended up taking off was her sitting in the car with her nan playing the song. And that was it. And it was just so relaxed and so real.
I think that got most of her streams, to be honest. As well.
100%, because it was promoting the track without people realizing. So they moved across, they listened to the song, and that's going to be rewarded on Spotify as well, because Spotify's seeing you bring people across.
There is something about people not looking at the camera on TikTok.
People love it.
Why? I think it's because it's such low effort, and you look at when you're scrolling on TikTok, every time someone is looking at the camera like this, I've got something I want to say to you. It's always selling something. It's always desperate for followers. It's always, I've got a product I'm about to drop on you. Yeah. Whereas people who are sitting in a car with their nan aren't going to drop a product on you. Yeah, it's not going to be a commercial. Yeah. So I really do recommend when you're performing your track or you're creating content, don't look at the camera, don't keep making eyes at the camera, just play your music and let the music do the talking.
I can't think of the TikToker's name off the top of my head, but there's a musician where all of his content is he'll turn on the camera, he'll walk away and he'll start singing in a car park. And that's all it is. And he won't look at the camera while he's in the car park. But I think that's a perfect example of people don't want you to sell yourself. I think because majority of the audience on TikTok are younger, it's definitely become a wider demographic now. But because they are younger, they understand social media, they understand ads, they understand how they're being sold to. So just making it real and just doing what you want will get you the audience on TikTok.
And bringing people across from TikTok, this is a big criticism TikTok gets.
Yeah.
Bringing people across to Instagram, to YouTube, to stream the track. What's your thoughts on that? That's
the hardest thing I've found. I think a lot of people have a very high following on TikTok, but won't have the audience on Instagram or YouTube or potentially even the streams. I think a few things that you can be doing is obviously linking your socials to your TikTok, having your Spotify in the bio. But another small thing is if you comment on your own TikTok, your comment will be at the top. So automatically it's sort of like a pinned comment. If there's something that you can write that will drag people to another platform, that will definitely help. But with getting streams and things, obviously if you have an engaged audience on TikTok, they will eventually want to stream your music, especially if the song's good. But I think what everyone's looking for is to get their track trending on TikTok. That is like everyone's aim, isn't it? Like the ultimate aim for every artist at the moment.
And let's move on to that.
Yeah.
And I want to say something firstly, which is, can artists please stop putting stupid dance routines in their music videos now? Like the amount of artists that come to us and it's independent artists and labels, and they're like, we've got the music video. Do you want to see the music video? And we sit there and watch it, and randomly, like midway through a song, they'll all put down their instruments, and it's like,
yeah. It's so accurate.
And it's so stupid. And you know that they are trying to get that to go viral on TikTok, and it's done now. It's done.
Yeah, it is.
Can we stop doing this industry-wide? It doesn't happen anymore.
Watch after this podcast a stupid dance routine go viral on TikTok.
Oh yeah, I know that's
Totally.
inevitably going to
Yeah.
happen.
But yeah, they're so done with. And I think every trending sound on TikTok now is linked to creators being able to make their own trend, if that makes sense. So they want to see a trend, but they want to make it their own. I think we've gotten over this whole copy-paste kind of content now, where, say, a dance routine, where you just learn it and you just create it. It's done. People want to be able to put their own touch on it. And I think things that are working really well is being able to take the lyrics of a song and they mouth it, but the text is something specific to them. I think that's worked very well. And obviously for an artist, that's super simple, because if your lyrics have something that's very literal and can be taken across to TikTok, sweet. But besides that, I think it's becoming way too forced. You're seeing people pay for influencer campaigns and just be like, do this.
Is it realistic now to get it viral on TikTok? Is an independent artist starting from scratch, is it worth your time and money?
I think it's based on the song. Because I think there are some songs that I hear and I'm like, oh, that could take off. But 99.99999% of them aren't.
Because it worked for us, what, 2 years ago with the Christmas
3
campaign?
years ago, yeah.
3 years ago
Yeah, I
now,
think it was.
possibly, where we got millions and millions of streams on a TikTok, and we did hear it and say, that's going to do well on
TikTokable.
TikTok.
Yeah.
And we did an influencer campaign and we pushed it out, and then we did the original theme was actually from the artist account themselves and the artist's content, and that was what kicked it all off. And it became a trend. I think though that you can't engineer that to happen. I think if we did that 100 times, I think it would happen about 3. So a 3% success.
Yeah.
A 3% success rate, I'd say, for TikTok.
Yeah, that's why I think don't go into it with the mindset of like, I am doing this to get my track trending. Instead, create the content you want to create and be in the mindset of like, I'm creating this video to get discovered and have new people watching me. And Mimi Webb's a perfect example of that. On TikTok, she did videos where she got reactions from her family, her friends. She spoke about how she wrote the song. And that was basically it. It was straight up promo for her music, but it didn't come across of it because it seemed so real. And her music ended up trending on TikTok because so many people were viewing her videos. So creators took her music and made the video they wanted to make. No one was pushing for her tracks to trend. No like manager, no label were running like dance routines and stuff. It just happened organically. And I think now, because having tons of small creators use your music rather than just one massive one is more beneficial, it's very hard to recreate.
You're also competing with not just released music. So a lot of artists will assume that you are competing against those newly released tracks to get yours viral. However, Fleetwood Mac was back in the charts from a guy drinking...
It was like juice.
It was like juice on a skateboard.
Yeah.
And then suddenly that was back in the charts. And you're not competing against new releases. You're also competing against every single track that has ever been released. So for me, as an artist, I don't think it is worth your time trying to get your track viral on TikTok. If it happens, amazing. Do upload it to TikTok. You could pay a few influencers if you want to, but I really wouldn't pay more than $20 per influencer. I think that's worth mentioning as well, what the cost of influencers are on TikTok on average. I mean, we pay, I'd say, anywhere between $10 to $200 for a TikTok, and it really depends on whether they have management, whether they have a big following, a small following. My advice for that is don't look at the size of their following. Look at, you are paying a natural TikTok content creator who knows how to get something going, getting it viral. That is where you're spending your money. You're not spending your money on the followers. So look at the content you're getting for your money, because that is your better chance of getting the track viral and awareness than their existing audience.
Yeah, look at the views. Look at like how consistently are they getting over 10, 20, 50K views. Because otherwise you're just chucking your money into thin air because they might have had one viral video which got them all the followers, and that's basically it.
And the content they bring back. And because we have had some campaigns where we've paid a TikTok influencer and we've got it back and they're literally sitting with their phone listening to the track going, and that's it. So what is the point in that? People are just, like I've just described about the TikTok algorithm, how it works. You've paid them, they've taken your money, and they've given you that. You need something more than that. You're paying for a TikTok, you're not paying for an influencer.
Yeah. Also, they are becoming more expensive now because they kind of know their worth because they're being approached by so many people, especially brands. So because more brands are approaching them, their price is going to get higher because companies have a lot of money to spend on these things. So if you're working with a small budget, I don't think it's worth it. Focus on creating the content yourself because it's free and you've got a chance of basically going viral any day.
And going on the subject of influencers, going back to Instagram, are we in agreement that it's a waste of time?
Oh, waste of time.
Waste of time.
Absolutely
Okay.
waste of time. Also, majority of them have fake followings now.
Yeah.
You ask for screenshot stories and suddenly they disappear. They don't want to show you their story views. It's not worth it. And I've actually never seen an Instagram influencer campaign that has fully helped promote the artist. And it's not just like some sort of background promotion where they had some budget and they chucked it. I've never seen it where someone's done something really creative. And I just don't think it's worth it.
Yeah. Moving on to YouTube then.
Yes.
I think we'll briefly talk about YouTube as it's a case of whether the artist is able to create content for YouTube and whether they are YouTube friendly. So do you have any initial thoughts on YouTube?
I mean, I get why it's hard because long form content, well, longer form content than you're used to, plus you don't have an audience there. And for YouTube, you have to be using search terms. You have to be using, the titles have to be searchable, basically. And for a musician, that can feel impossible because you're either writing music or you're covering music. So what can your title be? So I think the main thing is for an artist to think, is there something I can create that I enjoy creating and other people will want to watch? And unfortunately, if you don't have the audience, that's not going to be original music because no one's going to find it. Do you agree with that?
I absolutely agree with that. And, you know, for the subject of this video or podcast or however you're listening, I don't think it's worth going into YouTube when you're trying to get your first 10,000 fans. I think you're just not going to be able to get that momentum. So I would totally be trying to pitch to existing YouTube channels, for example, but I feel like that's a different topic entirely in terms of pitching. So it does have its place in terms of discovering music if you're alongside other people. Time and money, I don't think it's best spent on YouTube anymore. It's a shame. I love the platform, but for an artist now.
I think if you have the time, you can upload to it. Especially with YouTube Shorts now, you've got a higher chance of being discovered.
Just can use it on TikTok.
Yep, and Reels. But if that's just going to be your original music, it's not going to break you. It's not a platform which is made for that anymore. I definitely think it used to be. I mean, there were artists that were breaking from just uploading videos in their bedroom, but it's not like that anymore. So I don't think it should be a main focus for an artist in the early stages.
So moving on to release strategy in terms of timing, in terms of what songs to release, where does an artist start with that?
So often, I think an artist will have a collection of material ready. And if they don't, I'd highly suggest they do. Because if you release one song and then nothing else is recorded and you've got months and months of recording and writing, you're kind of just leaving the audience that you may have grown just sat waiting. So I definitely create a lot of music in that first year if you can. From here, it's going to be singles. You want to release singles. You want to drop just singles because it's better for Spotify. You can submit to Spotify for artists. You can pitch to playlists. You have basically more material to work with over a longer period of time. And if you are the kind of artist that tells a story through albums and EPs, you can still release that, but drop singles in the lead up so that you have something at the end and there's an audience there that actually are going to listen to it. I think this point sometimes does offend artists because they say, I'm telling a story, I can release music how I want to release it, but we're talking from the perspective of this is how you break artists. We are marketers, so you can't get offended at us if we're telling you how it is. Like, that is how it is.
It's going to cringe a lot of artists. This every point that I'm thinking of right now is going to cringe artists because it's the sad truth of it.
Yeah.
Which is my next point was going to be covers as well. Starting and launching with a cover does work, and it is worth your time if you can take a track and make it your own and make it your own style, and being able to release a track that people already know the words to, but you've created it in your own way, does help. And it also, there are a lot of Spotify playlists that I feel are screaming. They are the curators are hungry for new good covers, because I see it and they don't get refreshed often. They don't get, like, I see like one new track a month going on there. So if you can absolutely smash it, they will put you on. Even in the Spotify for Artists form, when you're submitting your track, it says, is it a cover? And you go straight in there and get considered alongside all the other covers as well. They're screaming out for it. So I know that you're an artist and you want to have your own track that you've written out there, but I think you should swallow your ego in the first one and just take it on the chin and do a great cover, and then you can lead on to your own music.
Yeah, and I think another question we often get asked is, how often should I release? And with the topic of breaking artists, we had someone from Virgin Music come on our podcast, and they told us a stat that was the average amount of songs released before an artist breaks was 32. And I was mind blown by that. Like, it's such a huge amount of music. And I would say most people watching this have not released 32 songs.
I completely agree. And then the other thing that I would say is, if you have the budget, hire a good producer. And I feel like I'm stealing this point from you because you mention it so often.
Because it frustrates me. I hear an amazing song and it sounds like it was recorded on a Nokia phone.
And like you always say, listen to a Spotify official playlist and then place your own track in there and see if there is a difference. And there are other advantages to hiring a producer. I know it's expensive. It's not a service that we do. We don't, although we could in the future. Maybe that's a business idea I've just had. We could do
Comment
that.
below. You want us to...
we should be doing that, but we don't at the moment. But is putting artists with producers and be able to say, this guy suits your sound, your genre, and also opens doors for you because they already have contacts in the industry to be able to help you, probably more influential than a manager even could, because they've already got that success. So look at songs that you think are top quality and just spend some time early on in your career. I would say that was one of the best things you can spend your money on aside from marketing.
Yeah, and those producers can potentially get you some great collaborations. And collaborations, they can break you. They can definitely break you. You're seeing artists with literally no releases, and a debut release, they'll jump in with a huge collab, and they're on every Spotify editorial, they're on the front page of magazines, their following is growing rapidly. Their song's suddenly trending on TikTok. A collab can be the thing that breaks you because it puts you in front of the right audience and a big audience. And realistically, this is not possible for a lot of artists because there's only two ways you can do it. Through networking, so finding the right producer, through having a friend, through maybe you're with a label and they put you with the right person, or paying a lot of money.
Yeah.
So not everyone can do it, but I mean, there's possibilities to work out which one fits you best and try it because it can be the thing that breaks you 100%.
Absolutely agree. And a couple of points, if you're starting out as an artist, you haven't got, you've only got literally 100 followers and less than 1,000 streams on your latest track, etc. Contact producers via looking at tracks that you like, finding them on Instagram and DMing them, we have found to be the best way of getting in touch with a producer. Sometimes they have a website as well. You can Google it, find their website. Tends to be just a static image with an email address. Just email them. If you are wondering how much it costs for a producer, it can really, really vary. I'm talking between $100 to $20,000. The quotes we've had are, for a good producer who's had a previous hit track, I'd say we've had quotes anywhere between around $3,000 and $10,000 per track. Expensive stuff, I totally know, but it can be the difference between having your first track break and not.
And while we're sort of talking about playlisting, like saying with collabs and things, I think Spotify is something we're going to have to talk about.
We are.
Because, I mean, if you watch this channel, it's probably one of the main topics.
It's the number one marketing tool for artists.
But
is
that
Spotify.
there is what's key. Like, it's a marketing tool.
Yeah.
I think people still treat it as
Sales.
Yeah, where's my money? And I get it. You've spent money on creating something, and so you're expecting a return. But the return will come, and Spotify can help you get that return eventually because it's a discovery tool.
Yeah. In fact, if Spotify had not paid artists at all, I don't think they'd have these problems one iota, because SoundCloud didn't pay artists until recently.
Yeah.
People were still uploading. TikTok didn't pay artists until recently. They still uploaded. And YouTube don't pay artists and if you upload to your own channel until you've got a certain number of subscribers and watch hours. So with that in mind, I think that it kind of made artists not understand what Spotify was and what Spotify was offering them. And with an understanding that they're essentially paying for all the marketing, you're paying for access to all of their users, and what they've got left over, they're giving to the artist.
Yeah, and they actually are giving, because there's an algorithm that's designed to push out music. It's not like Apple Music where you have to pitch to editors to get on an editorial playlist. With Spotify, if your music is good and you're on the right user-curated playlists, you will get pushed out. You'll be on the Discover Weekly playlist, and from there you might eventually be on an editorial playlist. And you're reaching hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people from basically doing nothing. And like, how incredible is that?
So how do we get started on Spotify then? So
we've spoken about release strategy. So you're releasing singles. So do you want to talk about the Spotify for Artists form?
Yep. So the Spotify for Artists form is basically Spotify's gift to you in saying you can submit your track to us. And we've worked with a lot of labels and high-profile artists, and a lot of them, they pitch via the form.
Yeah.
They pitch via the form. You don't realize it, but the form is everything, and they are competing alongside you.
The form is
everything. So make sure you put everything in there. Be very specific. Don't be broad with your genre. Be very specific about your genre, because you have what they're doing is, we heard from a playlist curator that they have a system. And I remember the other streaming platforms, Apple Music and Deezer, were very jealous of this platform, because Spotify are able to filter out what they're looking for in that particular time. So if they are looking for a new hip-hop track, they will click hip-hop, and it will filter all of the new submissions that comes through, and then they choose for that playlist what they are looking for. But that's specifically.
Why it's good to be so specific, because if you picked hip-hop, R&B, pop, and they just want hip-hop, you're not going to come up. So don't click every button.
And then, and then the form, people do. I've seen it in live time.
Yeah.
And then in the form, you have to really sell yourself. Again, if you've got that producer on board, you can say that, produced for this artist, and this artist. And then this is the new track. This is what it's about. And this is what I'm doing for my marketing, and what the marketing plan is. Be as to the point as possible. The producer, what the song is about, and how the track is being marketed, because Spotify want people coming to their platform. Also, if they put you on a playlist, if you think about it from Spotify's curator's point of view, they have targets to get for the streams on their playlist. If they make a playlist and it gets 10 people following that playlist and no streams, like, their boss is going to be like, I'm paying you to get people listening on our platforms. You're not creating playlists that people are listening to. Therefore, if you go into that form and say, this is how it's marketing, you're essentially marketing their playlist if they put you on it.
Yeah.
So do think about how you're marketing your music in order to get streams and raising awareness.
Yeah, I think a lot of the industry is frustrated because it can seem as if gatekeepers are sheepish. But what you've got to understand is them taking a risk on someone is a risk on their own job.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why should they? Because instead, they can pick someone where their submission says, you know what, I was on 5 editorials beforehand, I've just been signed to so-and-so, and I've got a collab coming up with this big name. And they're like, great, they're going to do well, add. So you want to sell yourself, but yeah, like you said, you just want to prove that you're bringing people to the platform.
So let's talk about pitching to playlists.
Pitching to playlists.
Is my most passionate topic in pitching to playlists, because wow, has it changed in the last year.
Mm-hmm.
So with pitching to playlists, you've got lots of different options. We've talked about Spotify officials. Now we're talking about the independents. So when you're pitching to playlists, you have to be incredibly careful, because firstly, you want to get streams, you want to get organic streams. Therefore, you want to be pitching to the right playlist. And I think that we're very open at Burstable. We don't pretend that people aren't emailing you back saying, do you pay for this pay to be on my playlist? And some artists are paying to be on those playlists. So I understand that people are coming back asking for payment, but not all of them are asking for payment. So we have an app called Playlist Hunter, playlisthunter.com, and that will search for contact details for, it's basically scanning Spotify for all of the email addresses ever. Like, there's literally, I think I looked last on our database, there's like 120,000 email addresses on that database of playlist curators. And all of the bigger ones are going to come back and charge you. And they're not the ones you should be aiming for, because getting streams from a playlist like that, where people are paying to be on it, it's not going to have high quality music on it, then it's going to have random tracks on it, and you don't even know if they're legitimate followers and legitimate streams. Whereas if you go for the smaller one, more niche ones, and you get, say, 200 streams from an organic, real curator, then that is enough to trigger the algorithm. That's all you need, and let the Discover Weekly do its thing. So when you are searching for a playlist, firstly, look at, realistically, with this title, would people follow this playlist? Does it make sense to me that people would follow this playlist? Look at other artists on the playlist. Are they major artists? Does it make sense for it to be curated like this? What I would do is go on Date Added, have a look at the tracks. If the top few are just terrible, terrible artists, don't bother with that playlist. Don't bother even pitching to that playlist. I would then look at, you can go to things such as Chartmetric. Chartmetric is quite an expensive tool, but if you have the budget, I think it's like $99 a month, you can use that. And you can look at the history of the followers on the playlist. And what you find is, if it used to have 100,000 followers and it dropped down to 70,000 followers, it's fake followers. Don't bother with that playlist. So in 2022 now, I feel like the marketing industry has changed now, and we speak to labels now, and we have a lot of label meetings, and they're not hiring pitching companies now. They are cutting out the pitching company, and this is what we've had to do. We ended up getting, in the industry, Burstamo was at threat of getting cut out the industry, because the curators and the playlist and the brands are accessible now, much easier than, say, trying to get in touch with a Radio 1 DJ of the 90s. So what happens is, you have to become the owner of that playlist. You have to be the person who's promoted that playlist, who understands the playlist. And this is what the labels told us they were doing. It was mind-blowing. We discovered this about 2 years ago. This is what they were doing. And they say, we want to know that the playlist curator knows their audience. They have access to the data to be able to give us, to be able to promote our artists. So now, if you're paying someone to pitch to playlists for you as a new independent artist, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your money, and also you don't have the data to be able to guarantee and you don't have the data and you can't guarantee the results.
Yeah.
So, for example, what we do is if you come to Burstamo or whether you're a big artist or small artist, then we own all of our digital assets. We own the YouTube channels, we own the playlists, we own the Instagram accounts, and then we use the data from that and we use all of that existing audience to raise awareness for the artist to that audience. And that is how the streams come, and that is how the artists break, because you've got that data to be able to retarget. So as an independent artist looking to break, I really wouldn't be looking for someone who pitches for you on your behalf. You don't even know. I'm going on a bit of a rant here,
Yeah,
but
that's all right.
you don't even know that they're doing the pitching. If they've taken 20 clients that month and they send you a report saying, I pitched to here, this playlist, I pitched to blogs and I pitched to radio, and they said, no, sorry, but thank you for your money. Like that happens in this industry, and they're just putting a report and there's no way of you knowing.
Yeah.
Whereas now, modern day, it's guaranteed. It's a yes or no. What can we do?
Yeah, and I think we've seen it firsthand. Artists come to us saying, I've worked with so-and-so, and you'll see that one track that they used a playlist picture for will have like 1 million streams. And then they've released one 2 weeks ago, less than 1,000 streams. Like, what is the point? What is the point if it's literally just some numbers on a screen? So yeah, I completely agree with everything you said.
So moving on to, we've talked a lot about organic stuff and hiring people. What about paid ads? What can an artist do to be able to raise awareness for ads?
Well, I think the first point we made about branding and populating all your social media platforms is key before you run any ads, because there's no point running some Instagram ads. They click on your profile and you've got one post. It's just a waste of money. But I think Instagram story ads are one that we found very effective. Instagram story and TikTok ads. So I think those are the two.
Reels, by the way, I've looked at our data recently.
Yes.
Reels are doing really well for us. We're running the same ad on both stories and Reels, and it's doing really well.
Do you want to talk about Reels a little bit then? Some Reels ads.
Yeah, sure. I mean, what's great about it is that you know exactly what you're going to get literally a day after it goes live. So we've had things from artists just simply performing their track all the way to artists doing like just really cool stuff, text-based stuff, or they do something like they create something like them playing linking to YouTube, and they've done like something longer form of content. It's difficult to specifically say what works because we've had so many failures and we've had so many things that are done so well. It really is up to you creating the content and you seeing how well it's doing. But for us, the reason that Reels, I think, is doing so well is because the sound is always on. People know that the sound's going to come up, and it works incredibly well. The beauty of it is it's run by Facebook. The targeting is very accurate, plus you can target anywhere in the world. On that subject, I'm not a big fan of going to places like Brazil and Argentina, and where you're not necessarily going to be touring. Of course, if you're a Brazilian band, yeah, of course, if you're a Brazilian artist, do it. But we know that it's cheaper to advertise in other countries. You could possibly social proof it first if you wanted to get your ad loads of comments and loads of likes, but I think for me, it's not worth it. Just suck it up and get that attention and awareness from the countries where you are going to be touring, and it's going to be valuable to you.
I think with Instagram story ads, one of the main benefits is being able to swipe up and having a click through to something.
Where do you click through to?
I would say Spotify.
Yeah, I say so.
Because I think taking someone to another platform, such as YouTube, is a big ask. Just focus on getting people to stream the track. I think that's the easiest and probably the cheapest as well. But with stories, it's not like Reels. Most of the time people don't have the sound on, so you need to go quite text heavy, or at least have something that's going to make them want to turn the sound on, which I understand is difficult, but there are many ways to get around it. So a lot of text, or potentially making it feel like it's personalized. So if you can run an ad to one specific city and it starts with Manchester, you're going to love this song, they're a lot more likely to stop and pay attention because it feels like it's specifically hitting them. So I think those are probably the best ways to do it. And I think stories, great way to push people to Spotify.
Yeah, I completely agree. And like I said, in terms of cost effectiveness of everything in this entire podcast, ads are, because for $5 you're finding out how things are going to go if you spend $1,000, so you know exactly what you're getting for your money. When clients work with Burstimo, we've kind of got those, we've done all the trial and errors, so we're able to say to a client, here 80% of this is gonna work, and this is the usual kind of cost per click if you were to create this ad for us. And then we've got kind of like 20% of like, this seems to be doing really well recently, you should give it a go. So I think that's kind of the advantage of working with an agency.
But like you said before as well, the other benefit is the data side. They own the data.
Yes.
So post campaign, you've got that data for another release to just hit those people, and you know who clicked it, you know who liked it, and that's something which I think is the best marketing tool.
TikTok ads, I absolutely love. We spoke. TikTok have been very supportive of us.
I love TikTok.
Yeah, they've been great. We have calls with them very often in terms of like optimizing our ads, the content, what's working, what's not. It was difficult in the first instance because there was only so many countries we could advertise to. We were based in the UK. Clients are not necessarily based in the UK, so there was a bit of like, can we advertise to the USA? Still can't because of other factors. But there are a lot more countries now we can raise awareness for an artist. Their ethos that they told us, and it is such good advice, create TikToks, not ads. Create a TikTok that when it comes up in people's feeds, it's going to look like a TikTok. Don't create an ad. And it has worked so well. I love the platform. The targeting is not that great in terms of what you can target at the moment, but I think that's absolutely fine.
Yeah. Nothing more I can say on it. It's just the whole idea of make TikTok not ads is the only way that the ads work on the platform.
So finally, I just wanted to touch on live, which is some artists have broken from playing live. I mean, Sam Fender was in a pub in his local town, and a manager walked in and said, I want to break that artist. He's fantastic. And you can't, if you're an artist, you have to start playing live. A lot of artists don't want to play live for some reason, but you have to, even if it's to empty rooms, you have to be able to play live, especially if you want to get signed. And, you know, I know a lot of people, artists listen to this podcast, don't necessarily want to get signed, but it is such a big asset to be able to play live. I would say my biggest tip that I have for playing live is try to get the slot that is just before the headline act. That is the sweet spot that nobody else knows and nobody else thinks of. And the reason for that is because the fans of the headline artist start to come into the venue, and then you get to perform to their most dedicated core fans. So you've got a headline act and you've got a room full of their most dedicated fans. Therefore, you can get them to be dedicated fans of the headline artist and be dedicated fans to you. And dedicated fans are those who will follow you all over the country, and they spread the word to their friends, and then they start creating fan accounts, and that's how it goes. So there is no substitute for playing live and getting real fans and word of mouth. And I always say word of mouth is the strongest form of marketing.
I think what's interesting is when we talk about social media, there's always a strategy for it. So it's like with TikTok, get people's attention in the first 3 seconds, make sure watch time's high. But with live, people don't go in with that mindset. And I think that's not the best way to do it. I think you need to think about that. How can you create a set which is going to pull people in, keep them engaged, and then end on a high? And I feel like artists often play their album, sing it how they want to, but you've got to remember, if you want to engage that audience and potentially get some new fans from it, because you never know who's in the audience, really think about that set. How do you want to start it, which will pull people in? How can you ensure people stay put and don't just go off to the bar or go outside for a cigarette and just get bored of you? And then how can you end it on such a high that they're filming it, they're sharing it, they're telling all their friends and they want to go to your next gig? That's the most important thing.
Perfect. I'm going to leave it there because I noticed that our time is up now. and we hope that we have covered as much as possible for you to be able to break. And to be honest, I've done Maddie dirty here, because about a year ago I said that I was going to do a long video.
Oh
I was going to do a long video where I covered every single element. And,
here it is.
And just things kept coming up, and I was just so busy I wasn't able to do it. So I've done it now. Yeah, I've done it. I can tick that off my to-do list. And thank you for sharing the load on that one. So thanks very much for watching. If we've missed anything, if you want us to go into anything in a little bit more detail, comment down below. If you want to see more video content like this, where say we analyze an artist's social media or something like that, then comment below, give us some suggestions, drop it a like, and subscribe if you're not already. See you in the next one.